Well, thank you very much, Pak Bayu. It's an honor to be here today, particularly in the presence of Professor Nunung and Ibu Desi and Pak Indro. I feel humbled to be with so many experts. And I'm also very aware that with everybody here in the room, some of you are experts yourselves. So I think this is much more about sharing notes about it. Let me first a little bit give you my background from where I'm doing this. As Pak Bayu already said, over the last 8 years being in Indonesia, I had the honor and privilege of building with him together Pisagro. And we're working with now about 250,000 farmers across 12 crops across the value chain. Secondly, in McKinsey, I was globally one of the leaders on the agricultural sustainability practice over all the years. And thirdly, I've been involved in crisis. I've been involved in the 1998 crisis. I worked with IBRA in Indonesia. I worked with the Korean government. The 2008 crisis, I worked closely with the government in the Middle East, in Saudi and in Dubai, and then with the Dutch government. So in what I'm sharing today, I'm coming a little bit with that kind of inputs. And I would like to take a double view. I would, on the one hand, like to share with you some more fundamental personal perspectives, and on the other hand, a very practical. Before I do that, I would like to come to the point that Pak Bayu said. A few years ago, I set out that Indonesia is to grow very, very big and become bigger than Germany. I think we're still on course to go there. Indonesia is set to become one of the largest GDPs. But there's one big condition, and I always said that in going there, this is a road of going up and down. And the key condition is that we use crisis. Crises are painful, crises are threatening, but crises are times to make the steps that you otherwise do not dare to take. So now is the time for us in Indonesia to make those steps. And I think agriculture, and that's why I feel very privileged of being here today, is an area like that. That's my mindset. How to capture, how to turn a crisis from just sheer pain to an opportunity. I believe conceptually, and I'll come to them later, there are 4 points. Fundamentally, I believe in times of crisis, it's very important that we find our inner balance. In times of crisis, we feel threatened, we feel insecure, we feel out of breath, and we cannot think. This is the time to stop, to breathe, and invest on our inner balance, either by praying, or by meditation, or by doing sports. Everybody's different, but we have to find it. The second point, be willing to pivot. This is the time of pivoting. Now, pivoting comes out of the sport in America, particularly out of basketball, and it means you're standing on 2 feet and you very quickly turn over your left foot or over your right foot. So you make a fundamental change of direction, leveraging one of your strengths. What it means for us, now is the time with our inner balance to step back and reflect fundamentally on the business we're doing, the policies we're leading, or how we're teaching. And openly think, given the new normal, like Professor Nuno mentioned, is this appropriate? What does it take in the new normal? Secondly, pivoting means an eye for opportunity. In the time of crisis, we have to allow ourselves to look for the opportunities. We know in 2008, that's when the biggest e-commerce companies were born that are now big today. In the times of crisis, opportunities are born and captured. Thirdly, we have to be prepared to shift. Next to inner balance and pivoting, the third one is transparency. It might come unexpected, but in times of crisis, spending time on being transparent, ensuring transparency is important. We don't hide when things don't work. When Aceh happened, many things went wrong, but we went in and like Pakuntoro left and made sure there was some transparency, and that empowered us. And that creates trust. And next to these 3 points, particularly in times of crisis, open to collaboration. We cannot win ourselves. We win by working with others, and by working with partners who have complementary skills. That's the mindset, I think, of winning in a crisis. Let me now go totally to the other side and pick a very specific, tangible example that I think is good. And somebody is going to my charts, that's wonderful. Or otherwise, I will quickly share if I may. I cannot share, somebody has to unmute.
Pak Edward, oh, okay, right.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I have some charts. Let me see, yes, here.
Yeah.
By the way, Artemis, that's the company that I'm now leading. It's a social tech platform. That's the background. Let me explain. What I would like to explain, the example is Peduli Pangan. Peduli Pangan is a movement that was set up by 2 people, Agus Sari, some of you know him, he's a very renowned environmentalist, yes. And Regi Wayu from Hara. He is an agri-tech player, very long already, using blockchain, working very closely with farmers in the villages, now working with 33,000 farmers across all of Java. They pivoted, the one from environment into food, the other one from working with farmers and saying, what do we need to do? They understood that something has to be done. It tackled the disruption that was caused in the food supply and demand chain challenge that COVID has created. They saw 2 challenges. Our farmers, our villages cannot sell, and the people in the cities, particularly are challenged, other friends, people who just lost their jobs, who do not get food. And they said, why not source basic food directly from local farmers and supply it straight into the rumah susun and the slums? That's our aspiration. And they just started 6 weeks ago, and they just opened their first soup kitchen last week. What's the approach? Step number 1, food ingredients will be sourced from local farmers and the villages across Java. They have a base already of 33,000 farmers and now adding in others. They have a website where farmers can sign up. Secondly, transport. From the local villages, it's straightly brought either to central kitchens or to a depot where it is centralized. And then it can be prepared for the warungs and the barteks. Thirdly, the cooking, either straight in the Dapur Peduli in the RW RTs in Jakarta, or otherwise we're now getting partners offering spare kitchen capacity. In central kitchen, the food is being cooked and then distributed straight to the rumah susun in the slums. Here very much leveraging Ojo, because of our COVID situation, we have to make sure that food is distributed, people don't come together. And with the distribution of the food, we've also ensured that health flyers are being distributed. And you see at the last point, very interesting, the point about reporting, about transparency. With the help of volunteers, people are measuring activities and outputs and outcomes. This is the whole value chain they're building up. And if you go to their website, pedulipangan.com, you see it exactly how it's being set up and now starting to work. These 2 people came to Artemis, to us, and said, we need transparency. We want to be clear from day 1 what we're doing and how we're doing it. Why is that important? Particularly in crisis, people run for actions. But we don't only want actions, we want output. We want that things change. And just for the language, I would like to introduce a simple approach, which I call the result chain, which means normally we put in some hours, then we provide activity, either collecting the food or cooking the food. And then what people always like to look for is impact. But what you have to then measure are the outputs and the outcomes. How much food has been picked up in the village? How many food has been cooked? How many food has been distributed? And ideally also get a baseline so that we can see where the delta is. only if we put effort and time into this end-to-end measurement can people trust what you're doing, because this is a movement, some things will go wrong. It will need a lot of donation. Where's the money going? I know of many people who put money into PPEs. This is good, but where did the money go? We want to know where it's going, and we also want to learn, because there will be inefficiencies. But basically, what Peduli Pangan is now doing is a highly challenged food supply chain. And we all know it was challenged from the beginning. From the farmer to the city would go through 5 or 10 different steps. It's now trying to pull a straight line and help both sides, the farmers and the people in the cities. With that, here's the whole group of partners that are involved, and the new partners joining in. IDH is joining in, Bayu Nozim, Pak Fitrian. The Ismaya group is stepping in and saying, we have spare kitchen capacity, we have other things we can help for, and other people are starting to join in. That's the specific example. How does this example fit with my 4 principles? Let me go to those, and already being at the end of my short presentation. Inner balance. Agus and Reggie both took the time to find their inner balance and ask, what is going on? They both prepared to pivot. They shifted from environment into food, from focusing on farmers to focus on the full value chain. Transparency. They reached out to Artemis and said, we need people to help us. And we said, we need volunteers. Already now 100 volunteers have signed up and are counting. Students, people who now don't have work but still want to contribute, to help to measure and verify. And collaborate. They said, we have the beginning, we have the end, we need other partners. And they're getting partners in logistics, in restaurants. This is for me a very specific example and pivot to an opportunity for this country. And as I said in the beginning, I believe this country is to become one of the largest GDP, and we will go there, but then we have to have the courage to embrace crisis and do steps that make a real difference for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think if we in a room, everybody will stand up and make give their big hand for you, Pak Raoul. I think that is quite impressive, inspired. I think thank you very much. What I like with working with Pak Raoul is, you know, dalam bahasa Indonesia itu nggak banyak basa-basi, nggak terlalu muter-muter macam-macam, langsung memberikan jawaban dan memberikan ide dan inspirasi. Saya kira terima kasih banyak Pak Raoul.